Namaste, I'm Nandini Mauli and welcome to our monthly series Dharmic Reflections, where we discuss the key tenets of Hinduism and their important philosophical, religious and cultural nuances. In Hinduism, Vidya or education is an important means to achieve the four aims of human life, namely Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. It is also believed that only through education one can attain the right knowledge, control his desires, and learn to do his duties with a sense of detachment and devotion to God. Central to the traditional Hindu education system is the concept of Gurukula, or a knowledge center, wherein a student usually stays with his teachers or gurus for a very long time and learns the important Hindu doctrines through exploration of ideas in debates, discussions, observations, and so on. In fact, Sri Siva Vishnu Temple is creating a Vidyalaya, or a knowledge center, with a view to catalyze deep learning of Hindu concepts among its devotees. To talk about this very innovative endeavor, I am joined by Shekar Narasimhan and Jaishri Shankar today. Shekar, by way of introduction, is an ex-SSVT trustee. He is a community activist as well as an investment banker. And Jaishri is a teacher. She is a daughter of the ex-SSVT chairman and also a very beautiful Indian classical music, Carnatic music singer. She is also the founding math teacher at the Washington Leadership Academy Public Charter School and also a coordinator of the very famous Teach for America programs. Shekar and Jaishri, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So, Shekar, first of all, I am very curious to know why is SSVT creating this Vidyalaya? Is it a concept? Is it an institution? Or is it a space? What exactly is it? And how does it actually even relate to our Hindu traditions?
Absolutely. Namaste and Gurubhyo Namaha. This is just paying obeisance to all our teachers. Nandini, I think first of all we should define a Vidyalaya as a concept rather than a space or a specific type of text or literature. And where I learned this, to be completely frank, after having grown up in India, was 11 years ago, touring the temple for the very first time with the late Pujya Shri Dayanand Saraswati. He's touring the temple and he finishes this tour and his face is markedly alive. And he says, "This is just wonderful. I can't believe that this temple, which is like a tour of the whole of South India, is here and you have done this."
Yes.
And then he drew back, and to those that were listening he said, "But I wonder, how will you fill this place with knowledge so that in 20 years you will have young people here, new people here?" This is a very profound question.
Absolutely.
It is not about rituals and religion, it is about our tradition and how we carry it out. So he further taught us the fundamental concepts of what we have become the Vidyalaya today, which is worldly knowledge or laukika, and then paramarthika, which is really spiritual knowledge.
Yes.
But if you isolate those two and you separate them and don't have a thread between them, you don't attract young people to listen. Because what is the relevance of something written 2,500 or 4,000 years ago to today's living? And what Pujya Swamiji, bless him, was able to do was take those things. He could give you a tennis analogy about something written in the Vedas 2,500 years ago and make it relevant.
Absolutely. That is
So
beauty.
it's absolutely a concept. It's how do we bring teachers from everywhere who are the best to anywhere, sitting in your living room or on your mobile phone, but also sitting inside the temple and embodying this concept of a Vidyalaya.
Very nice. Beautiful, and it's quite unique, I would say, because gone are the days when you have to go to a particular place and stay there at a particular time and just be there in a rigid atmosphere. This seems like a very fluid, flexible, especially for people like you, Jaishri, next generation representative of the temple, plus you are also a teacher. So how does this concept sound to you, and what exactly are the features that attract your generation?
Yeah, I think, you know, my generation is at a unique place because a lot of what I learned came from stories from my parents and my grandparents. I go back to India, or I'm at the temple and learning from the community, but we're on this cusp of having a new generation of Indians, either who are first generation Americans or immigrated to America at a very young age. And our challenge is figuring out how to continue cultivating our culture and our tradition and the spirit of what is India in a country away from India. And I think the key thing for myself and for so many others is access. The more accessible you can make information, the more likely I am to take advantage of it. So I would love to say that I could come to the temple 3 nights a week and go to a class and have a debate or a discussion, but the reality of it is that I and so many others have competing priorities.
Absolutely.
And so for me, the draw of the conceptual Vidyalaya is creating not necessarily a physical space, but the proverbial space to have access to those things, whether it's joining a Google Hangout to talk about a certain tenet, or to e-stream a lecture so I can watch it while I'm doing work, or maybe a few times a month I'm able to come to the temple. But I think the more accessible we can make things and create that concept, we are attracting more and more people.
Okay, so you think that your generation would definitely care for this so-called ocean of knowledge, and the way to access it would be propagated very easily through this kind of medium, and they would be absorbed into this type of initiative.
Yeah, I think so. I think you build investment bit by bit, but I and so many of my friends care deeply about our roots and our culture. Our families care deeply about cultivating that for generations moving forward. So it's figuring out how to hit that sweet spot of relevance with history and tradition to continue moving forward.
That sounds excellent. Very, very good. And have you talked to your friends about it? Have you seen or gotten any pulse from your colleagues, friends, and so on?
Yeah, so I think what's interesting is the colleagues piece really resonates, because I think there are a lot of people who also want to learn and don't necessarily have the medium to do so. So I'm thinking of a lot of my friends, and the people who come to mind are not even necessarily my friends who are Indian, but those who are not, but want to learn.
That is so true, because in the last couple of decades we see the globalization is really making the interest peak in Hinduism, in Indian culture, traditions, deeper understanding of what exactly are these so-called truths of Sanatana Dharma. In fact, I was very surprised that when my son said he would like to learn Sanskrit in college, spend 6 months, really invest his time in college doing that, which suggested to me that there is a whole lot of youngsters like you who would like to have the education coming, especially from a very authentic center like SSVT. It's an institution which has established its credibility through many beautiful, innovative ideas like this. So I am very thrilled. I'm very excited about this. And can you say something more, Shekar, about what exactly?
Sure, and first of all, Nandini, we should be very clear. Learning is something that is continuous. Our sages knew this. You will learn at 90 just like you will learn at 5. This is a vast ocean. It is the Vaaridhi. It is the complete ocean of learning. So first of all, learning should not be something that is only childlike or next generation. That's number one. Number two is that what we have done is we've identified teachers all over the world, whether they are in India or Australia or in the United Kingdom or in the United States, who can teach.
Yes.
And we've identified a number of both male and female teachers who are under the age of 40. Now, why is that important? It's important because they are taking these ancient learnings and translating them to today. It's much harder to do when you're in the next generation. This is now a different age, if you want to call it that. So I'll give you one example. Sri Dushyant Sridhar is a young man who passed out of BITS Pilani, which for those who don't know is a major engineering college in North India. He studies engineering, he goes to work, at some point he gets a revelation, he starts reading, he gives up his learning, and now all he does is lecture and tour and talk. He's erudite in English, he's highly relevant because he can take these very complicated concepts. And I want to add to that, we are at the stage where we're doing essentially reverse jeopardy. Rather than get the answer, we have the questions. So how would I, if I had the question, who am I? Why am I here? What am I doing today that is relevant to my future and my family and my community's future? Those answers are there and they are still relevant today, but they need to be translated so that I can hear them, she can hear them.
Yes.
We might hear different things, but at the end of the day, we are absolutely going to gain knowledge and bottom line lead better lives.
Beautiful. Excellent. Very good. And then in relation to this concept, Vidyalaya, SSVT is also planning to do the huge festival, Sri Medha Vidyaa Vaaridhi Mahotsav. Can you two share some information about it? What are its facets and how is it different from rest of the festivals that the temple has conducted so far?
So let me address quickly the concept behind this, and let Jaishri talk a little bit about all the other aspects, including the cultural. So as we talk about doing a Mahotsava, which is really a festival, it usually has several elements to it. There's a religious element. What we chose this time was to say, how do we highlight education, knowledge? And we picked the 4 gods in the Hindu pantheon who embody that, Ganesha, Saraswati, Hiragriva, Dakshinamurti. These gods have aspects of them that always everybody, when people go to worship, they say, you know, if you're going to overcome an obstacle, you go to Ganesha. If you want to pass an exam, you go to Saraswati. You see, we've learned to do these things, but we don't know why. So what we are doing with these pujas and homams is, before each puja, there will be a discussion about the relevance of the puja. After the puja, there'll be people standing there who can answer questions about why did they do what they did? What is the meaning to me? Should I do this myself at home? If I did it, what will the likely impact be? So this is kind of, I call organic learning. Don't sit there and watch the ritual, participate mentally, participate then and learn from it. So that is the concept behind, you know, the whole idea of the 10 days. The pujas with explanation, education seminars, and then a whole bunch of other activities which you can mention.
Yeah, so for me, the big draw is the fact that each of these will have an explanation, and so it's not passive learning, but rather active learning.
Absolutely.
But another really big part of my life has been music for the last 20 years, and you know, I went to see a lot of big artists in India, but it's really nice that we have Sanjay Subramaniam, who will be giving a concert here. And for me, what's very interesting is that I have always very much connected the cultural tradition of music to the religious tradition in Hinduism and worship through music. So we will spend such a long time learning about these micro traditions and cultural pieces of Hinduism, and then also worship through music later in the festival.
Fantastic. So beautiful. Thank you, Jaishri and Shekar, for coming and explaining this beautiful concept. Very, very innovative initiative from the Sri Siva Vishnu Temple. I am thrilled, and I am sure the viewers are going to be thrilled also when they hear this, watch our program today. And please, if you have comments, if you have questions, reach us at the temple website www.ssvt.org or call us at 301-552-3335. More importantly, please pass on this exciting news to your colleagues, to your families and friends, and ask them to also avail of this wonderful opportunity to learn more and more about Hinduism. We also look forward to seeing you at the Mahotsav from October 6th through October 15th.
Yes.
More importantly, as Jaishri said, at the Sanjay Subramaniam's concert on October 8th. Until then, I'm Nandini Mauli with my special guest Shekar Narasimhan and Jaishri Shankar saying so long. Thank you for tuning to us today. Namaste. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu.